You can insert videos into your slides one of a couple of ways. One way is if you have a placeholder like I do here. The last icon in it is the insert video. Go ahead and click on it and it opens up and you can browse for a video file on your computer. You can search YouTube and embed the video here or paste code to embed within your presentation. Both of which, for the most part, especially YouTube, if it's, well, online, you want to make sure when you're giving the presentation that you have uninterrupted internet access, because when you get to that really critical slide that has YouTube or embedded code video that's pulling it from across the internet, oh man, you're toast if that doesn't play. So it's probably best to go ahead and insert the video as a file on your computer. Or if you don't have that option, well, the best of luck, make sure you got your internet connection secured. So you can do it that way, close out, or if you don't have a placeholder and you don't want to add one, then just come up here, click on the Insert tab, come over to the Media group, click on the Video drop-down arrow, and you can do it online or from the computer. So online, again, gives us YouTube that we can search, or we can go ahead once we find a video online to copy the code, paste it here to embed it, and you can do it from YouTube. Embed the code here, and embedding the code gives you more control over the video, and I'll go over that later on, but for right now I want to keep it simple. Let me close out and not do any onlines just yet, but let's go ahead and click on the video drop down arrow and choose a file, a video file from off of my computer, or PC to be politically correct. Go ahead and click on it, and what it's looking for, the video files, you can see when I hover over it, have all these different extensions, and half of which I don't even know. And so if you can't see it when it's selected video files, it's probably something that Windows doesn't recognize as a video file. But if you're sure that it is, then click on the drop down arrow and change it from the default video files to all files, and you'll be able to see it. And then go ahead and select it to insert it, and hopefully it'll play it. In any case, let's just do video files, and it's my PowerPoint 2016 introduction. When you see it, double click on it and it inserts. And there's the first, well, second of the video with my splash screen. Dreamforce production, my name, and certifications. Oh, that's fun. And you can resize this if it's not big enough, but be mindful that if you hover over the left, right, top, or bottom, middle resizing handles, click and drag. Ugh, okay, that's distorted. That's not doing it for me. Let's go ahead and hit undo. But instead, you can go ahead and hover over one of the corner handles and click and drag to make it bigger, to keep it proportional, and then click and drag to move it around. And to center it, you can, well, when you get to the point, you'll have a red guide, dash guide that goes down the middle of it. As you can see in the middle of my, well, it's larger than a thumbnail preview, but the preview screen of my training video, and let go. And then just like the previous training video for audio, when you insert, in this case video, you get the play bar down below, as we saw in the previous training video on audio, that you can click to play and to pause it. And for each one of these buttons, you can see it tells you what it is, and the pop-up and the shortcut keys for moving back a quarter of a second. Let's go ahead and play it first. So play it, and it begins to play, gives you a preview of it, fades in, and then you can pause it. And you can also jump around at any point here and then play it from that point on, and then pause it. And of course you've got your moving back a quarter of a second, back or forward quarter of a second, and then the current time that it's at within the play area. And it's right there, 18.75. I didn't hover right over it, so it's at exactly 18.77. Then you have the volume throughout the play. You can click on it to mute it, in which case it slides the circle down to the bottom, click on it, and well, that's high. If you want to really blast out your audience during the presentation, then go full max and click and drag the circle all the way to the top. As you can see when I hover over it, it's up there. And then in addition to this, when you have it selected, when you click off, the play bar disappears. When you hover over it, it reappears, but when you hover off, it disappears. But when you select it and hover off, it stays up. So in addition to getting your play bar up when you have the image selected for the video, you also get its related contextual format and playback tabs. First of all, format. We covered this in earlier training videos. Okay, not about the video styles or how to format it, but we talked about pictures, shapes, objects, that it's basically the same thing when it comes to corrections, changing the color, or using one of the video styles to hover over it, gives it a nice frame to it. That's the beveled frame gradient. Or you can do video shapes, and let's do a heart, and it turns it into a heart. Okay, well that's not doing it for me, but you get the idea. Let me go ahead and hit undo. I'm going to leave most of this up to you because, like I said, I explained it many times over in previous training videos for like border color and effects. In this case, it's for the video, but it's the same thing. You can go ahead and have a nice, warm, glowing, warm 18-point red accent color 1. That's the name of it. Click on it and click off, and oh, that kind of gives it a nice aura to it. Isn't that fun? Go ahead and select it. In any case, there you go for your formatting. But let's jump right to the Playback tab, get right to the meat and potatoes of this. Over on the left-hand side, we'll go from left to right. You can, of course, get a preview of it, click play, and it starts to play. As you can see down here, and there goes the play bar. You can also pause it as well up here. Next, you can add bookmarks, so if there comes a certain point within the video that you want to be able to mark it, so you can quickly jump back to it at any point. Like, if it's something funny and you go to the end of a 5-minute video and people are like, yeah, let's see it again, or something you want to emphasize, a specific product at that point in the video, then with it bookmarked, you can jump. How do you jump to it? Well, first you got to add the bookmark. So wherever it's at right here, and it's at exactly 4.38, that if you click on Add Bookmark, it adds a little yellow dot. Oh, isn't that nice? And then when you hover over it, it says it's Bookmark 1. And you can use the Alt-Home or Alt-N keys if you're before it. If you Alt-N to jump right to it. If you're after it, well, you can just jump right to the end. And if you're somewhere before the end, but after it, and do Alt-Home, it'll jump right back to it. And if you do it quick enough, Alt-Home will take you to the beginning. So your bookmark is the stop between going home, if you're past it, to the bookmark, or before it, to the bookmark before it goes to the end. So let's go ahead and do another one, because I don't know about you, but I don't simply just click and know exactly where things are at, but I like to play it. And so, okay, I like this, but I want to see it projected. So if I go ahead and click play, then I can click Add Bookmark the moment that thing gets projected. Cool. So now I have 2 bookmarks. Now this is how it's going to work. So let's go ahead and go to just before it. Now remember the shortcut keys, as it says when you hover over it. When I'm before it, if I go to Alt-End, it'll jump right to it when I begin playing this. So play, Alt-End, and then Alt-End jumps right to it. Let's do Alt-Home, jumps right back, Alt-Home, jumps right to it, Alt-Home, Alt-Home, Alt-Home. You see what I had to do? When I got to this point and it started playing past it, if it went beyond like maybe a half a second and I hit Alt-Home, it went back to Bookmark 2. So to get past to going back to Bookmark 2, but to go back to Bookmark 1, when it started to play at Bookmark 2, I had to hit Alt-Home and Alt-Home almost instantaneously to jump right back to Bookmark 1, because if I let it go a half a second and I hit Alt-Home, it just keeps going back to Bookmark 2. So keep that in mind. You got to be quick with those fingers to be able to jump around with those bookmarks, or since you already have them there, you know what they're about, you can just go ahead and click on it, right? And jump right to it by clicking on it without using those shortcut keys, Alt-Home and Alt-End. And then if you want to remove one of these guys, like maybe the first one, select it, come up here, and you got the remove option, and it's gone. And then click on that one, hover over it, and Bookmark 2 is still there. And it says Bookmark 2, so that way you can know, hey, where's Bookmark 1? Well, it didn't renumber them, so it kept it at Bookmark 2, so you know at one point there was a Bookmark 1. Okay, next up here on the ribbon, we have the editing, where we can trim the video if it's too long in either direction or both directions. You can see when you hover over it, shows you how it's done. Click on it, and I'll show you how it's done. So my video is a total of 29.93 seconds long. You can go ahead and click and drag the start bar in and the end bar, end time, drag it in. And oh, it's going to be a very short video, right? You can do it that way, and then click play and see where it goes. And if you're like, it should end right about just after the bookmark, click pause, and then bring it to that point, or when it plays to that point, like let me drag it back, whatever point that was, 17 point something, you can come down here and actually type it in numerically for the end time, if you remember it. And then when I type it in, automatically it jumps right to it, or you can use the spin dials and go this way, that way. In any case, it's going to be a very short video. So let's do something really short, click okie dokie, crops it, so when I play it, it's very, very short. Not 30 seconds, it ends in about almost 5 seconds. So if you're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, that's okay. Just come back up here and click on Trim Video, and it still gives you the option to go back out and essentially basically just undoing it all. And then clicking OK. And we're back to where we started for trimming the video. Now how about fading in and fading out? Well, if your video starts abruptly, like you got some drag race, cars just in full gear, just blasting off, I mean, that'll have the audience jumping. How about if you fade it in slowly, where it doesn't automatically have it jerk you right into some sudden video scene? Instead, you can use the spin dials, or let's do 10 seconds, hit the tab key, for it to fade in. So what that means is that it's going to start off dark, and then to get up to full brightness and speed and audio, it's going to take 10 seconds. And then, let's go ahead and play it right now, see what it looks like. Okay, so that's the start screen. Oh, the audio's already started. Oh, that's taking painfully forever. So the audio is starting, but the image is just fading in so slowly. Well, that's too much for me. I'd probably knock it down to a few seconds in this training video, or not at all. I already have a fade in, but that wasn't done through PowerPoint here. And let's go ahead and change it to 0. How about a fade out? Well, when it gets right to the end here, maybe you don't want it to stop abruptly, but kind of give them a nice little warning how you dim the lights. In this case, you're going to dim the video. How about if we do it by 5 seconds? That shouldn't be too rough. And let's get to the end of about 5 seconds, close to it. And you see how it's beginning to fade already? It fades out the audio, fades out the video, and it goes back to the beginning, the image that we have in the beginning. It won't do that during the presentation, will it? Well, should we go ahead and take a peek, see what it looks like? Let's begin the slideshow. And remember, the last 5 seconds, go ahead and hover over the picture here to get our play bar. And when you click play, you can jump right to the end. PowerPoint 2016 and it goes right back to the beginning. Yes, it does actually do that. So what you see, let's hit the escape key. During the preview, in the design view, will actually show exactly like that during the preview. So you may want to make sure that you've got something that begins your video that you can return to that you're okay with. In fact, if I can kind of jump ship just a little bit, because speaking of which, having a starting image to go with, also known as, let's come up here, click on the Format tab, go to the Adjust group, a poster frame. Set the preview image for the video clip. Let's go ahead and click on it and choose an image from the file, because this is the default image. That's the first second within my video that it just took a snapshot of. Well, what if I don't want them to see the first second of my video? It's supposed to be a surprise. Well, you can choose another image to have that as the overlay, because when you're giving your presentation and you get to the slide, it's not like sometimes you're automatically going to play it. You may be sitting there talking about it before you begin it, in which case you don't want to give away what the video is about. So instead of having the first snapshot of the video there for them to see, you can overlay it with an image. So image from a file on your computer, go ahead and click on it. And okay, let's browse. And I'll do something very simple. Pictures, sample pictures. Okay, tulips. I'm very easygoing. Double click. So you can see that the poster frame is set, meaning that when you play it, it totally skips the image and goes right to the video. But that's what they're going to see when we come down here and begin the slideshow, the image. So it could be a totally different image, maybe an April Fool's joke, where they think they're viewing one thing, but then when you play it, let me move my mouse, click play, boom, we're right into the video. So if it's a surprise, or if it's something that you don't want people to see until you're ready, well, go ahead and give it a poster frame image. Let me hit the escape key and jump out. And then let's hover down here and go to the end. And you see how it goes back to the poster frame image and not to the first snapshot of the actual video that had my certifications. So hey, hit 2 birds with 1 stone. You get something that you begin with, and the same thing that will close it off is that poster frame. So hit the escape key. Now that I had my ADD moment, hopefully that was helpful. Let's come back up here and go back to the Playback tab. So we finished with the editing, fading in, fading out. How about the video options? Okay, first of all, we got our volume and it's set to high. And so when I come down here and hover over the speaker, let me click off, hover over the speaker, well, it's all the way up there, isn't it? Come back up here and click on it, set it to medium, hover back over it. Okay, there's medium. And when I go down here, what's that? Click on it. It's low. So you can change the volume here, including going back to high, hover over it. And high is not really high. It sets it right here. So if you really want it above high or as high as you can go, don't trust the volume settings here because it says high. That's not really all the way to the max. Instead, you'll have to hover. Let me click off. have to hover over the speaker and click and drag it all the way to the top to know that you're getting the most out of high. And then next we've got the Start In-Click Sequence. Let me click on it. And this is new to PowerPoint 2016. The previous versions had automatically or when clicked on. So you can automatically play the video when you advance from the previous slide. Well, let me show you. Let's go ahead and start up here. Click on Start Slideshow. And then when I click, it automatically starts to play. See? All right. Hit the Escape key a couple of times. And let's go ahead and select the image so we can come back up here on the Playback tab to get our video options. So you can do it automatically or when you click on it. So again, when I begin my presentation and I get to slide 2 and I want to be able to play it, I have to click on it. Or, like I said, new to PowerPoint 2016 is In-Click Sequence. What that means is that you don't have to click on it. It just means that what is the sequence of what's on that slide that it's going to be playing in. And so you can have a sequence when there's other animations and they'll be numbered of how you want to play it, but right now I just have one. So with In-Click Sequence, the sequence goes when I advance to the slide and I click, it won't advance to the next slide. Okay, well, if I had another slide, so let me select this and go ahead and hit enter, and it copies the same layout, so I have another slide, right? So normally, when I advance from one slide to the next, when I go from slide 2 to slide 3, I can just go ahead and click the mouse anywhere on it and it advances. But because this is the next sequence before it advances to the next slide, and it's the only animation video I have on there, it'll play that first, and then when I click again, it'll go to the next slide. Okay, let's go ahead and see this. So with this slide selected here, let's go ahead and click on Slideshow. And let me move my pointer up off of it so you can tell that I'm not clicking on it to play it, because it's got In-Click Sequence. Click off of it. It plays it because that's the next thing that's going to be to click Sequence, click on it, and then it just advances right to the next slide. So that's the next sequence. Once it plays, is to go to the next slide. Let me hit the Escape key. Okay, back to slide 2. Select the image so we can get our Playback tab. And then next we've got Play Full Screen. So when I check that and I play it, it just pops open to fill up the entire screen. You want to see it? Alrighty. I'm easygoing. Let's show it. And then when I click play, boom, fills up the entire screen. Oh, that's marvelous. Let's hit the Escape key a couple of times to get back out of that. And then you've got Hide While Not Playing. Well, let me uncheck this. If you check that, that doesn't make sense when you have it on clicking either in sequence or when clicked on, because if it's being hidden while it's not playing and you can't play it because you can't see it to click on it, it doesn't work. So the only thing it'll work with is automatically. So how do you do that? Well, let's go ahead and just do it so I can show you when clicked on when I begin it. I can't see it, so I can't click on it. It doesn't work, right? Hit the Escape key, go back to slide 2 to prove my point. Select the image, click Playback tab, and then the only way it'll work is with automatically. So let me select slide 1. So what's going to happen is when I advance to slide 2, it's going to automatically play, but it's not going to show it while it's not playing. But because it's part of the automatic sequence, well, it'll pop up. Let's go ahead and begin the slideshow. Go to slide 2, automatically starts playing.
PowerPoint is a software program used for creating graphical.
And then when I get to the end, it disappears because it's done playing. It says to hide it when it's not being played. So that's nice. That way we can go ahead and stay on this and talk about my training videos. And I showed you one, and without distracting the audience, once it's done, it hides itself. And I can continue my conversation until I'm ready for the next slide, again, without that video being there, distracting the audience if it has some image on there that, might distract them, like some big juicy piece of chicken or turkey or a sugary donut. Yeah, let's hit the Escape key to get back out of there. Select it again and come back up here, click on the Playback tab, and let's continue. Okay, let me uncheck that. Loop until stopped. Oh my goodness, that's just going to play and play and play forever until somebody says, well, during the play, stops it there. And you can also rewind after playing, so instead of staying at the end of it when it's done, it'll automatically go back to the beginning, so you can play it again, as it were, without having to rewind it yourself. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of all this so I can show you how to insert a video from YouTube. So with it selected, the video, hit the delete key, and we're back to where we started. Let's go ahead with the placeholder, come down below and click on Insert Video. We want to search YouTube. Let's type in me, Kurt Kershaw, hit enter. Oh, and look at all these fun videos. Ooh, Access, that sounds fun. Select it, click on Insert. Ooh, it's about yay big. Okay, that's not going to play very well or look good during the presentation. So let's come up here, click on the Playback tab, and you don't get the option to play full screen, so you better resize it. Click and drag to fill up as much as you can here. You may have to cover, well, let me bring it down so if it's important to really have the title there. There we go. And let's go ahead and see what it looks like when I play it. Click on Slideshow and hover over it, click, and it plays. Wait for it. There we go. Let me go ahead and jump to the end here. See the little sunny guy? Hey, subscribe to me. I'd love for you to join me on YouTube. Except I do have ads on my YouTube videos to help pay for it. So if you don't want the ads, let me go ahead and pause this. So if you don't want the ads, please go ahead and purchase my training videos directly. They won't come with any ads, obviously, just for YouTube. But you see the end screen here where I got my mug that you can go ahead and subscribe, or, well, for $2 a month you can have access to all my videos. As you recall in an earlier training video on animation, when you apply animation to text boxes, shapes, or objects, you won't be able to see that on the slide unless you're in the Animations view or on the Animations tab. Oh sure, you can come over here in the thumbnail preview, and when you see a star, remember that's not just about animation, it could be a slide transition or both. So we can't really, by looking at this star, saying, oh, that's just for the animation. It could be, like I said, a slide transition. So on the Home tab, I don't see anything that's animated or tagged with animation, but when I go to the Animations tab, oh, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 for revenue trends is the fly-in, number 2 is the fade, number 3 is the floaty, and number 4 is the font color. So in this training video, I want to show you some advanced animation, and as such, we're in the advanced animation group, and we're going to do some through the animation pane. Click on it, it opens up the task pane, more specifically the animation pane, and it has a list of all the animations that you see over here, numbered sequentially as well. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, revenue trend, sales up in October, and so on. And in fact, when you hover over them, you can see the activation for that animation, and the pop-up is going to be on click. Well, it also says it up here that it's going to be on click with it selected. So you don't have to wait to hover over it if you want to go ahead and just either select it here or select it by tagging by one of these animation tags. It says it up there, it's an on click. But what I'm saying is that you can hover over it. It's activated by on click. You can see in the pop-up. It's an entrance animation, and it's going to be fly-in, and then it gives you the text because, well, it's cut off revenue trend, but in the pop-up it's revenue trends. So you can go ahead and hover over each one of those to get a little bit more information about it. Now, in addition to that, well, we've got them numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. They have the reordering options. So if I want to take number 3, and you can see when I select it, it highlights it over here, the bullet point, GH stocks up 35%, and have that be the second animation instead of the third. Then with it selected, I can click up and look how it reorders it. So we'll go revenue trends, then I'll skip this one because now that's number 3, and go to number 2 here, GH stocks are up, and then go to number 3 and then number 4. You want to see it? Alrighty. Let's come up here on the Animations tab in the Preview group and click on Preview. So it goes 1, 2, then 3, and then 4. Out of sequence, but not according to the way we had it set here. In any case, I don't like that. I'm going to go ahead and undo that, or better yet, let's take the Ghost Hunter stocks up and bump it down 1 to have it ordered, at least the way that I wanted it, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can reorder in there, and then the next thing is that you can right-click on one, and you get some options. Now you get the Start on Click, as opposed to Start with Previous or Start After Previous, which is available also up here on click with Previous After Previous. I want to show you there's more than one way to do this. So if you right click on this, what Start with Previous means, it doesn't work for the first one because, well, what's the previous? Well, there's nothing above it. So if I go down to number 2 and I right click, I can say instead of starting on click, so each one of these to get through the animation when I'm giving my presentation won't animate till I click, 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 4 clicks to get through them. But if the second animation, I want to be able to not do it on click, but to start with the previous animation, select it, and the timeline keeps it in a start-to-start relationship. So when this one starts, start that one. So let's go ahead and select it, and when I click on it, you can see over here it's 1, 1. They're both number 1, and so there's nobody that comes after. They start together at the same time. Click on preview, and these both start, then comes in number 2 and then number 3. All right, so that's what it means to, let me right-click, start with the previous, or now watch what happens when I do after previous. It's going to take this little timeline here and bump it over. Start after previous, it bumps it over. So it'll play this one first, then right after that, without me having to click on the screen to go to this animation, it'll just automatically play it. And in fact, you see how I hover over it? The total duration of that animation effect is a half a second. Well, you can see it up there, a half a second, so you can get a little bit more detail there. You can click and drag that, move that out, the start time, which is interesting because we haven't talked about that yet, but I'm actually delaying it by moving it out. It won't start right after it, but it's going to be delayed. I don't want to do that. You can see up here it's delaying it a half a second, but hey, just learned something new, didn't we? Oh, in any case, speaking of which, you have move earlier, move later. It's the same here, move earlier, move later, but let me undo that. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Let's do preview. So it does this one first right after it. I don't have to click because it starts right after it, and then it continues through the rest. Well, you won't see it here because this one's automated. But I'd have to start my slideshow, click on it, and then click once, and then it goes through the first one, then the second one right after it, and then the other two will only be activated if I click and then click. Okay, let's hit the escape key. And I'm going to right click and say let's go back to on click, so they're in sequence here, only activated by me clicking the mouse. And let's go down here. Let me go to this one right here and right click on that and continue. Next you have the effect options. Now for this one, it's the font color. I do have effect options, but when I click on it, I just get color. But you want to see something cooler? Well, this is more advanced. When you right click on it and you go to effect options, oh sure, you get the color here, just as you saw up here. Well, can't click on it, but you know what I mean. Click on it, get the colors. When you click on this, okay, you got to select more colors than what you see here. These are the most recent colors. When you select more colors, hey, it opens up your world of color here, including honeycomb colors. Let's do something green, and then click Okie dokie. And you could end right there, but hey, we got a lot more. This is advanced animation. You can change and go to a different style. Now, what this means when I choose that style is that it will go from white and go through these different colors to get to green. Now, wouldn't that look cool? Oh, I think it would. And then you got the option for a smooth start, and the total duration of the animation here is 2 seconds. Well, you can see it right there too. So the most that I can give it a smooth start is 2 seconds. And so what's going to happen is that it'll start slowly through this up until 2 seconds, and pop, it'll go to green. Or if I go to 1 second, well, I can use the spin dial to get a little bit more particular, or you can type it in there, that it will start in as smooth as it can, slow, and then it'll jump right, because it's only got a second, right into the color here. So we can go ahead and play with that as far as getting into the effect here. And then you can reverse that. What it does, instead of going from white to green, it flips this and it goes from green through these colors to white. I'm going to uncheck that. The sound, hey, if you want somebody to applaud for you, click on the speaker, make sure it's up way loud so you can really feel good about yourself like I do when I get a good applause. And I'm going to go ahead and set, well, let's play it through right now. Let's go ahead and click Okie dokie. And then instead of, previewing this and going through all the animations, I just want to go over the one that I've made changes to. So if I go ahead and with it selected, click on play from, it plays from the one I have selected. So if it's, animation 3, it'll play from that and continue down to the next one. Click play from. And there we go. Isn't that fun? Played all the way through it. And if you notice down below, it plays the timeline, starts at 0 seconds as it plays through. Watch this when I go ahead and click play from. See how it goes through that? 2 seconds. So it goes from 1, starts back to 0, plays the next one, then it goes through its cycle here up to 2 seconds, because that's, well, this one is how long? A second. You can also click on it and zoom out. And as you go out, because if they're really super long, like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, well, or you can zoom in if they're super short. There you go. Keep zooming in so it looks longer than it actually well, really is as far as my opinion goes with just the second view. I want to zoom out and try to get back to the way it was. You can play with that. In any case, like I said, you can see the different effects there. Let's go ahead and instead of right-clicking, get to the effect options. You can also double-click really fast, and you get the effect tab here. And we got the smooth start. Let me go back to 0. And I'm going to go back to no applause. No, seriously, that's all I can do to keep myself from being distracted here with that loud applause. And then you got after animation. Don't dim as the default. You can say after animation, let's have it this color, that color, more colors. Hide after animation. Now, the reason why you may want to do that is because if you have something that you want to flash up for them to focus on, but then to pull away the focus because maybe it's too distracting and you want to talk more about it, or perhaps maybe it's a quiz. Hey, what did you see? You can hide it after the animation, or you can hide on the next mouse click. So after you click, it'll hide it and you can talk about other things just to get it off the screen so they're not focused on the, what is it? Increased paranormal activity over C. Well, increased paranormal activity just about freaks anybody out. So we'll just quickly introduce it and then let's do this. Let's say hide after the animation. And then let me do this, that since we're here, you can have the animate text all at once, or how about if we do it word by word with a 10-second delay between words? Well, that just means that it'll start creeping. It'll go through this and you'll see it creep across. And I say creep because it does look cool and spooky across each word here as it transitions through these colors. So we want to focus on two things. One is that it will creep across word by word when I play it, and then when it's done, it'll hide it. So let's go ahead and click Okie dokie. Of course, it won't do it in the design view because, you know, when I click preview here, or let's go from number 3 on, and then see how it creeps across. Ooh, that's pretty cool. And then it hides it. Well, it's got to bring it back because I'm in the design view. I mean, if it doesn't bring it back, then what the fudge? How am I ever going to fix it or make changes to it? So to really test this out, we got to go ahead and go to the slideshow and then click to advance through it. 2, 3. Here we go, the spooky effect. Oh, isn't that just fun? And then it disappears. And then when I click on the mouse again, just advance right to the next slide, doesn't bring it back up. So it hides it after animation. Hit the escape key. Now it's not just for text boxes, but you can apply pretty much everything that I told you here to also shapes and objects that when the ghost is done floating around, he can disappear. So let's go ahead and come over here and, well, double click on it. And let's not hide after animation. The default is don't dim. And then while we're here, we can go ahead and click on the timing tab. So let me click Okie dokie and show you that when you right click, there's the timing. So it opens up the same window, effect options and timing, just 2 different tabs. So, you know, click on timing or double click and go to the timing tab. So again, you can start on click, which you can do with the right click to do it on click with previous or after previous, or up here on click with previous, after previous. It's your flavor. Whatever which way you want to do it, it's there. Different ways to do it, to get to it. You can delay it after you click on it, like let's say 5 seconds, maybe to give you enough time to run to the back of the room, put on a ghost sheet with a flashlight and jump in everybody's faces, spooking them, showing them that they really need somebody to protect them, some ghost hunters. In any case, whatever the purpose of the delay is, you can do it after you click on it for 5 seconds or with the previous one. So it'll start at the same time, start to start relationship with the previous one. But after it starts, you can say, well, delay 5 seconds. That way you don't have to click on it. Where, you know, you'd have to click on it and then delay it 5 seconds. You know, kind of like setting a time bomb. Push the button and then run. In any case, you may not want to have a presentation that you do that to because, well, just imagine if you're giving a presentation on how revenue went down. You click on it, give you 5 seconds to get out of the room before the VP start chasing you down. And then after previous, of course, you can delay it up to a few seconds. I'm going to go back to on click. And then the duration, well, you can see right here is 2 seconds, but for this animation, this effect, you can go to 1 second or very fast. This is the benchmark. It considers very fast, a half a second, which I agree. And you can repeat it either 2 times the animation, 3, 4, or until the cows come home. Well, until next click, or the end of the slide, and I won't do that. I won't repeat it. We'll say none. You can rewind it when it's done playing, so it goes back to the beginning. And then next, triggers. The default is animate as part of a click sequence. Well, there's the sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, so click that one first, then click that one second, third, and fourth. Or you can say that, take it out of the sequence. Instead, start the effect on the click of, and it will choose objects or shapes within the slide. Like the title of the slide is Ghost Hunting Revenue. Oh, there it is. I'll click and drag that Ghost Hunting Revenue. So what it does, it actually turns it into a hyperlink that when you're giving the presentation, when it gets to number 4, if you don't come up here and click on that trigger point, what will be a hyperlink, and you just click somewhere off, after it's done with number 3, it'll go to the next slide. Want to see? Yeah, alrighty. Let's go ahead and click Okie dokie. And you can see right there, there's the trigger point. It's got a lightning bolt. That means that, hey, it's not part of a sequence. It's out of sequence, and there's somewhere something on the slide that triggers that effect. And you can see up here on the Animations tab in the Advanced Animation group, you got trigger there on click of the title. So if you need a quick reminder of, hey, what do I need to do to activate this to trigger it? It's on the title right there. Click off. Let's begin the slideshow. Click, 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 click. Oh, you see? Let me hit the P for previous. It didn't activate this or start the animation, right? Because up here, when you hover over the title, you see the finger? I got the finger. It's pointing right at it, just like a hyperlink. When you click on it, there it goes. It activates it. Oh, that's nice. So that's the trigger point. That's what triggers are. So why would you want to do that? Well, when you give your presentation, for some audiences, maybe you don't want to give them some animation, and maybe it's just for certain audiences. So that way you can just go ahead and click through and not think anything of it. And then if you really want something and you got time for it and you want to show them some gee whiz effects, you can just come up here and say, well, let me go ahead and go out of sequence, click on it, continue on with that animation effect. Otherwise, just bypass it. Maybe you're running out of time and you got 20 animations and you're not sure if you're going to make it through them all. So you got these other triggers that you can click on to activate that. Let's go ahead and hit the escape key. And to get rid of it, well, you can just come up here to on click and deselect. And instead of a trigger down below, it joins the rest of the group in sequence. And let's come over here and right click. You can hide the timeline here if you just want to focus without the timeline. Well, there you go, right click and show the advanced timeline. Then if you want to add additional animation, like let's say to this bullet point, well, for that animation is applied to this one. So if I click and drag within the text box, you can see it's highlighted. So to add additional animation to that with it selected, instead of coming up here in the animation and clicking on something else, that's just going to change it. You have to come over here to the advanced animation and add some more. So how about if we do a bounce? And there we go. And in fact, make it more fluid instead of just clicking from, well, what's number 4? The font color to the bounce after. How about if we just say right click on it, say after you're done with the color, let's go ahead and do the bounce. So start after, and then let's select number 4, and you can see that number 5 has been removed because it's going to start with number 4, with it meaning that in this case after 4 has been played, without me having to use the mouse to click to go ahead and activate that animation. So with it selected, go ahead and click play from. There's number 4, plays it, and then after it's done, it bounces. Oh, isn't that fun? Well, let me change this one because I think this one, it's not a good entrance effects because we have it and then it comes from the entrance and continues. How about after it's done with the color, from this point, then it exits out. So you can play with this. So we've got that one selected. Make sure I got the right one selected. It's the bounce. We want to change that. So this is where we're not adding animation. We're just changing the second animation to the same bullet point and say when it's done on exit, we want it to go ahead and bounce out. So when it's done coloring, instead of bouncing in, let's have it stay where it's at, then bounce out. All right, let's go ahead and see it. Select this one, play from, colors, and then from its current position, bounce out. Okay, that looks better to me. And you can add more animation. Just keep on clicking add, 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 add. And then to get rid of animation, well, you can't come over here and select it to get like number 5 if you want to get rid of it because it's stacked. So you have to come over here in the animation pane that if you close out, well, you know how to bring it back up. Come up here to advanced animation, click on animation pane, select the one that you want to remove and right click on it and remove, and we're back to 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion path animation is just that. It's an object in motion along a path you set. And in this example, we got our ghost hunting stock up 35%. Yay! And for a dramatic effect, I like our ghost to celebrate and have him float up to about right there. So I want to set him on a motion path that ends at that point. To do that, well, I need to select him, but I can't because this green arrow is going to get in the way. So I got a few options. One, as you recall in earlier training videos, I can go ahead and reorder this so the ghost isn't behind the green arrow, but on top of it. But I don't want that. I want to keep the layering just so. Or I can go ahead and click and drag and move the green arrow out of the way, but then I have to move it back exactly over it because that's the way I want it. And the third option, which is the option that's going to work for me, is to select any object within the slide and then come up here and click on the Format tab, go to the Arrange group, and click on Selection pane. And there we go. Let's see, Picture 8 is the green arrow, because when I click on Picture 5, that's the ghost. So with Picture 5 selected, let me click on it again so I can get the cursor in there, select Picture 5, delete the generic name, and call it Ghost, hit Enter, and click on Picture 8 once, click on it again, so I can delete the contents therein, and that's the green arrow, hit Enter, and then all I have to do is to hide the green arrow while I work on the ghost, is to come over here and poke it in the eye. And then it closes the eye because, hey, ow, that hurts. And so the green arrow is hidden until I go ahead and unpoke it. Well, let me poke it again and close out of that task pane. I just have to remember later on when I'm done applying animation to the ghost to go ahead and bring up the selection pane and unpoke the eye, as it were, to be able to bring up the green arrow on top of the ghost. So with the ghost selected, let's come up here, click on the Animations tab, go to the Animation group, click on the More button, and we talked about entrance effects, emphasis, exit, and hey, there's our motion paths. We only get 6 here, but if you want more, click on More Motion Paths. Click on it, and oh, there's a plethora of motion paths. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the bottom. I want to keep it simple. Let's do something that goes up. Select it, gives you a preview of the effect because the box is checked. Let's go ahead and click Okie dokie, and there you go. There's the motion path. Green is where it starts, red is where it ends. When you click off of it, well, when you click over here, it changes it from circles, a green and a red, to triangles. Well, the reason being is that just shows you the path, but when you select it, it allows you, okay, not the ghost, but if you can get on the path, if not, you can actually click on the actual animation tag there, and it selects the path, that these circles allow you to hover over them, and you get those arrows pointing in opposite directions, like you're going to resize it, or in this case, move it. So instead of ending up at the top, I can click and drag that, and let's move it and have him go over to the left-hand side. Well, better do it again. It's pretty stubborn. Left. There you go. And more. Cool. And then let's go ahead and see what it looks like. Click Preview, and zing! Well, that's pretty spooky. So you're not stuck, at least when it comes to line motion paths. You can manipulate them, or any for that matter, where it starts and where it ends. But you do have additional effect options. Click on it. We can go up, down, left, or right. If I go left, it goes back to the default size of when it goes from one point to the other point, but of course going to the left. And you can, go ahead and select it, if you can click on it, and rearrange that. In addition to the other effect options, click on it. You have the locked and unlocked. Unlocked means that you can go ahead and move the, click off, move the ghost, and it moves the motion path with them. Let me go ahead and hit undo. But if you do the effect to lock it, that means that the motion path is locked. So when I move the ghost down here, well, what's going to happen is when I start the animation, he'll jump over to the starting point and then slide across. Want to see? Preview, bump, he jumps and then slides over, and then he goes back to where he started. Well, in the design view, let's go ahead and go to the slideshow and see what it looks like. So he's down there, click, zing, and when he's done, he stays there, but that's where he started. In any case, let's go ahead and hit the escape key to go back, and let's hit undo, and we can add more motion paths, but let me go ahead and click on one and click and turn that around, go up, if it will do it. Takes a couple of clicks sometimes. There we go. And let's add another one by coming up here on the Animations tab to the Advanced Animation to add, because if I click on this, then I'm just changing it, to an arc. Let's see what he looks like. He takes a dip. Well, that's not the way for our stocks to go. They're always going to go up. So let me go ahead and hit undo. And let's add another animation. And I'm just going to go ahead and add another line. So I have the first line here, the second line, And with the second line, I'm going to go ahead and hover over it and click and drag it, move it over here. And I'm going to have the green go to the endpoint of that one, and the endpoint come up here. All right, so you see what's going to happen? It's going to go up and then over. How's that going to look in the presentation? Let's go ahead and do slideshow down below on the status bar. Click to activate it. He goes up. Okay, he's stuck. Go ahead and click again because it's based upon clicks. So if you want it fluid, where he goes up and to the left, where you don't have to click to advance him over, and he looks kind of cool up there, over the G for ghost. Do you remember our advanced animation training video, the animation pane, where you can go ahead and, well, it's ordered 1, 2. You can right click on number 2, and instead of starting on click, you can start after the previous. So it's one fluid motion. Come over here when you're there, then go over there. Let's go ahead and take it for a test drive. Slideshow. Click. He goes up, and then right after that, he goes over to the left. Oh, that's fun. Hit the escape key. Now remember, if we're done here, we got to select an object so we can bring up this related contextual format tab. So we can bring up the selection pane. Okay, we got too many panes. What a pain. Let's go ahead and close out of the animation pane. And there we go. We want to unpoke the green arrow, close out, and there you go. The custom slideshow feature allows you to create a custom show based upon any of the slides in the original presentation. And you can see in my presentation here, I've got a total of 17. And when I give my presentation to some groups, some of them are not ready for the other slides that I have within here. For example, let's say that I have 3 different types of groups. I have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Sometimes when I'm giving the presentation in the middle of it, they're like, we're not ready for that, or yeah, we already know all that. Instead of having 3 separate files, I can go ahead and load them all into one and be able to organize them into different custom slideshows. So to do that, again, to have one for beginner, intermediate, advanced, just come up here, click on the slideshow tab, and go to the Start Slideshow group and click on Custom Slideshow. You can see in the pop-up it says show only the slides you choose. This is a great way to shorten your presentation or tailor it for different audiences. Just pick the slides you want to use, add them to the new show, change the slide order if necessary, and you're done. Okay, well, I'll show you. Click on it, go down to Custom Shows, and we got nothing here but New. And then it's got a listing of all the slides within the current presentation, and this one's going to be for our beginner. And then let's keep it simple. Let's say it's the first 7 slides. And then click Add, and there you go. Now notice over here that you can also reorder them. So if like the last slide in this presentation, this custom slideshow 7, you select it and you move it up 1. Notice how it still retains its original number from the original presentation, slide 7, even though now it's going to be presenting in this presentation, this custom show, on slide 6. So that way you can go, oh yeah, that's right, I rearranged it because originally it's supposed to be the last, well, slide in the original presentation. I mean, as far as sequentially going from 6 to 7 instead of 7 to 6. In any case, when you're done with that, go ahead and click Okie dokie, and let's do another one. Click New. This one's going to be our intermediate. And this one we'll do 8 through 12 sounds good. Add, click Okie dokie, click New. And this one's going to be advanced. And we'll do 13. And you can also, you don't have to do it sequentially. You can just do it out and grab some from the other presentations like your beginning and then the first slide in the intermediate case if you need to do a quick review, if those are title slides for each of those custom presentations. And then you can click Add, and there you go. Slide 1 and slide 2, but that's slide 8 from the original presentation here, and then 13, 14 through 17. Great, click Okie dokie, and that's it. And you can either do it from here, like, okay, let's start with the beginner and click Show, and it starts the presentation. And as you go through, if somebody says, yeah, we've seen all this, what else you got? You're like, oh fudge, I gotta hurry make a change. That's okay. If you got a mouse, you can right click and then go down to Custom Show and say, let's go to Intermediate. Click on that, and it begins from the first slide in that second custom show, the intermediate. You can click and go through all that. And let me do Control S, and you can see all the slides, the total amount of slides within the presentation. We're on slide 3. Let's go ahead and click Cancel and hit the Escape key. And so when you're giving your presentation, just open up one file and then come up here and do your custom slideshow, well, on the slideshow tab again, to the Start Slideshow group, because this slideshow that we're going to start is a custom one, and it includes all these. Now you can either go ahead and begin it by selecting one of these, Advanced, and there's the first slide in the beginner presentation. Click to advance to the first slide in the second intermediate presentation, and then finally we get to the advanced. Oh, that looks really cool. I want to go there, and there, and there. And then in any case, let's go ahead and hit the escape key to end it. Or you can click on the drop down arrow, go to custom shows, and of course we can begin the show from there. You can also remove them, like if we want to get rid of beginner, let's remove, it's toast, it's gone, there's no, hey, bring it back. You can also edit it, make some changes. No, we'll click cancel, remove it, and then edit that. Well, we can get rid of slide 1, slide 8, click okie dokie, and you can also, if you want to make a slight variation of it, you can copy it. And then let's go ahead and, with it selected, edit it, and this will be, well, it's copy of advanced, but you can call that advanced number 2, and say in advanced number 2, we won't go over the first few slides here, but just towards the last 2, because maybe those are super detailed. And then click okie dokie, now we just have 2. Of course, we can select it and show it, and oh, look, this is for the CIA. We got our scope on the boat here. Shoot the boat. No, I'm kidding. Hit the escape key, and cool. The Setup Slideshow feature contains advanced options for the type of show you'll be giving, and there's 3 types. The default is the speaker, or you can do it browse by an individual or on autoplay at a kiosk somewhere. And let me go over all 3. So to see it, come up here, click on the Slideshow tab, go to the Setup group, and it's right there, Setup Slideshow. And you can see when I hover over it, in the pop-up, it says set up advanced options for the slideshow, such as a kiosk mode, so it just plays over and over and over again. You know, like if you have a big, huge monitor at the front of your office where people sit down, they're relaxing while they're waiting to meet somebody or look at a product, you can have this play over and over again so they can, you know, look at it and go, oh, this is what they're about, get more information. Let's go ahead and click on it, and there's the 3 different types. You have speaker, individual, and kiosk. Now speaker is the default. With it selected, let's go over all the different options, and then after we'll go over the other 2 here and the differences between all 3. So presented by a speaker, the default is you'll be viewing all the slides, and if you're like, no, you know, during this presentation I don't want to delete the slides, I just don't want to show all the slides, I just want to be able to go from slides 2 through 3. Go ahead and click OK, and there's slide 1, so it looks like this. So when I begin the presentation, click, it goes to slide 2, and then click slide 3, click, and we're done. Click, and it completes it. Let's come back up here, so that way you can do a custom presentation here without having to hide the slides or create a custom slideshow. That is, if it's linear, you know, from one point to the next, and you don't want to be able to not show something in between. Unless, of course, you want to hide it over here, as we learned in an earlier training video about how you can hide slides. But again, it's from point A to point B and everything in between. The other option is you can do a custom show, as we talked about in the previous training video. And I had 3 different types. And the advanced, let's see, let me click OK. Scroll down. I think it's from slide 13 on. So let me do Control Home to go to the first slide. Or I could have clicked from the beginning or hit the F5 key, and it goes to slide 13. Okay, there we go. Hit the escape keys. So there's my custom show. And I could have advanced through it, but hey, we want to keep it fast and simple so you know that it works. Set up slideshow. Let me go back to all slides. Then down below, you can advance slides either manually, you know, by using the mouse or the keys on the keyboard that we went over in an earlier training video, like the space bar. Or if you have timings present, you know, like 5 seconds on slide 11, 10 seconds on slide 12, you can use those. Again, the operative word is if present. If they are, you can still advance from one slide to the next, even though you're spending 10 seconds on this one. The timing on that, if you're 5 seconds through, you could say, yeah, we're done. Let's click and go to the next. So you can do that or do it manually. That way, even if you have timings present, it won't use the timings. It just will stay static, and the only way to advance is to, you know, use the mouse or the keyboard. Then we got multiple monitors here. Well, if you do have them, I've got 2. I've got my primary, what we're looking at here, and then over to the left-hand side, I've got my secondaries, so if I want the slideshow to be on the other monitor, I would choose that, but no, we'll keep it here. And then let's see the resolution. We can use something teeny tiny. Makes it go a lot faster, the animation and everything else, but lowest fidelity, the quality's not that great. I'll just use current resolution. And then we have the presenter view. What's nice about that is that when you have two monitors, or you're going to project it up on the wall through a projector that can act as a second monitor, as it were, you can have something on one monitor that you can view, even play games on if you want, and then the presentation showing on the other. Well, we'll go over that in just a minute, but let's clean it up here. And we've got our show options, still presented by a speaker. You can loop it continuously, so that way, if you're doing it manually and you get to the end of slide 17 and you click, if it's looped, it'll go back to slide 1. If it's using timings, it'll just go to the end of 17, go back to slide 1, and continue through those timings of each slide until somebody hits escape, escape, escape. Let's not go loopy and loop it forever. And then next we got show without narration. So in another training video on narration, if you have it, you don't have to delete it. You can just say, okay, for this presentation, I don't want to show it. And then uncheck it, and then show without animation. Well, say that somebody gave you a PowerPoint presentation that had tons of animation. They animated everything to death, and you don't want to give your audience seizures from all the animation. Well, just go ahead and cut it out. And then that way you can turn it back to them saying, hey, I didn't touch your presentation, didn't delete your animations or, undo them, as it were. You just didn't show them. They'll be disappointed, but oh well. And then you got disable hardware graphics acceleration. I like it when it comes to picking up the pace and seeing my animations, so I'll leave it as such. And then the pen color, ooh, you get a lot of colors. The default is red. I'm good with that. Click off. Laser pointer color, you only get 3. I'll go with green. That's fun. And that's for presented by a speaker, the default. Now, what's the difference between that and the individual? Select. The individual doesn't get the pen color because they're not going to be writing on the window. They don't get that option. And then they also don't get the choice to choose which monitor they want to view it on. It's going to be on the primary. And they can't use the presenter view because they're not the presenter. They're the individual. They're not giving it to somebody else. It's just being viewed by a single person. Nobody else. They're not presenting it to anybody else. So next is we have browse to kiosk. Now when you do that, notice that in addition to blocking out some of them, that at a kiosk you want it to be automated, not done advancing slides manually. So before you select it, you want to make sure, let's go back up here, that you select use timings, because at a kiosk you want it to go, when it gets to the end, slide 17 from slide 1, to go back to slide 1. Now if it's manually, it'll never get out of the starting gate. It'll stay on slide 1 and never advance. So first of all, you got to have timings, and when you have timings, make sure that you select use timings and then choose browse to kiosk, and it stays static there. Cool. So then it's going to loop continuously, which makes sense because you don't want to have to get up every time and say, okay, let's start the presentation over again. We got new clients, new customers coming into the showroom here, and I don't want to have to keep interrupting. So those who are waiting can continue to see the presentation, and then they don't get the pen color, and they can't use the presenter view. So let's go back to presented by a speaker. And this time let's use the presenter view so I can show you what it looks like. So right now, the primary monitor, which is this one, is going to be what you see when we give the presentation normally. The presenter viewer is going to be on the other screen. So when I click OK, it also checks it up here on the slideshow tab, and vice versa. If I uncheck it here and I go back to the setup slideshow, it's unchecked here. All right, so check it, click okie dokie, and let's do Control Home, or I can come up here, click from beginning, or hit the F5 key on the keyboard. And on this monitor right here, it's the full presentation. On my other monitor over here, I get something special. It's called the presenter view. You want to see it? Alrighty. Hit the escape key, and to be able to flip this around, and this is a good point, you want to make sure that when you do this, that the audience isn't seeing the presenter view, it's you, and they're seeing what we just saw here, the full presentation taking up the whole monitor. So this monitor here, the primary, is going to be what monitor the slideshow is going to be showing on, and so I want it to show on the other monitors. So on this one, we can see the presenter view. And then we can go ahead and begin the slideshow, and you see, different, isn't it? Okay, top left-hand corner is counting off the seconds here that you can pause because maybe you have billable hours. So every second that you're yammering, you want to be able to bill it for, or if you just want to keep track, you can unpause it and continue on so you know you only have so much time to spend on each slide or this slide. And then when you go to the next slide, well, you can come down here and click next, and when you do that, it keeps it going. And you can pause it and say, well, I don't want to bill them for this slide, or I don't want to keep track of it, or let's start back to 0. And so you can go back. So you've got your main area here. Let's just go ahead and pause it. And then over here, you got the slide that's coming up next. And that's important because you can prepare for that and go, ooh, okay. So right here, we're going from trains to pictures, and you're getting ready for it. And then down below, you got the notes for the current slide. It's not for the one that's coming up next. And you can go ahead and read there. And this is only being shown on your screen. The other screen is this right here, full mode, or projected up on the wall. So that way you can go ahead and read from here saying, to reproduce the background on this slide, do the following. I mean, it makes you sound really smart when you're reading here because they can't see what's on your, well, in the presenter view here. It makes me look smart until you look over my shoulder and they go, ha ha, you're reading. Oh well. In any case, down below when it comes to reading, if you want to fit more text, you can make the text smaller or make it larger if you want to see more there. And then back here, let's go down below and let's go over the pen and laser pointer tools. Click on it. You have the laser pointer, click, and what you see here is actually showing up over on the monitor, the second monitor, the green glow here, the laser pointer. Ooh, spooky. And then we can click on it too, or just hover off of it. They won't see it. And you can deselect it and then click on it, and you get the pen option. Pretty much everything we covered in an earlier training video during the normal presentation that you can bring up here and do a pin and do some circles here. Hey, it's 6:18, and then let's go ahead and hit the E key to erase. Click on it. You've got the highlighter, the different ink color, the arrow options. Again, we covered all of this in an earlier training video. It's no different here in the presenter view. You can have it visible where the pointer is always visible, and when you hold it still, it doesn't disappear, so it becomes hidden. Click off. And then you get this cool option where you can see all the slides. Now when you do this, on the other monitor, it's not showing this. You see where it's highlighted here? It's still showing that in full screen. But this way you can go ahead and look around and then click and go back to it when you're taking a glance to say, okay, what am I covering next? I haven't really prepared and I want to be able to see what's coming up. Not just the next slide over here, but all the other slides. And so I can come back and say, you know what, this audience, I think they're so ready for something different. Something way different, like the end of the show. Select it, and that's what they're seeing on the other screen. Hey, presented by me. Great. And then you've got the zoom feature, but let's click and go to see all slides, and let's zoom in on something that, like this boat here. Select that, and let's click on the zoom, and then hover over it, and you see that little magnifying glass with the plus sign? When you got something in your sights, pun intended, because that's what we got, a sight, a scope, that's highlighted around the boat. When you click on it, it zooms in. Maybe we can see the guy there or the girl, whoever's driving it. Nope, we'll have to abort mission. And then when you're done, you can always go ahead and click on it again to zoom back out. And then down below that, you've got black or unblack slide. Click on it and we go to black, and then I can show them a demonstration of maybe some flashlights, because maybe it's about flashlights, or for whatever reason, you just need to maybe take a break and say, we'll pick up when we get back from break. And then when they get back, click on it and hey, we're back. And then we can go ahead and go to more slideshow options. The last viewed slide, custom shows, so we can automatically dive into that. Hide the presenter view. Let's do the screen here. We can go to white. So if you need more light to be able to see what we're doing in a darkened room, there you go. And then you can just go ahead and hit the escape key on the keyboard, and it goes back to the presentation mode. Click on the button again, and you can do show the taskbar, which you can also show it up here, or end the show, but let me click off and come up here, show the taskbar. So down below you can go to other, like let me open up Excel here, and when I open it up, that's not what they're seeing on the other screen. They're still seeing that boat. So I can play solitaire, do whatever while they're viewing that scene there. Close out, and I'm back. And then we got our display settings, so we can swap presenter view and slideshow if I want to flip it. Okay, there's what we're seeing, the slideshow, but then I have to go on the other screen and go and swap it back so we can come back to our presenter view. And then we've got duplicate slideshow. I don't want to do that, and let's just end the slideshow. And then just make sure that when you're done, that if you want to go back to where you're both seeing the same screen, then don't use the presenter view. But I like that because that way I've got my speaker notes, I can see what's coming up, I can have more control and not have to second guess a presentation that I haven't presented on in a while. Or maybe it's just good to have it up so I can bounce around, as you saw how easy it was when I brought up all those other screens to quickly point and click and advance right to another slide. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.